Welcome back to the Data Dive, folks. I'm Chip, and sitting across from me, looking exceptionally grim today, is our resident physics wizard and racing sage, the Stig. Stig, we've seen some bad reports before, but this one has a number on it that I actually thought was a typo. A total driver score of 19 out of 100?
It is not a typo, Chip. It is a catastrophe. If this driver were any more relaxed, they would be reversing. A score of 19 indicates we aren't really racing yet. We are participating in a very expensive parade lap.
Ouch. Okay, let's peel the onion here. The report calls it a critical failure. The metric that screams at me is the braking score. It's a 0, a literal 0 out of 20. The average brake G is listed as 0.00 G. How is that physically possible? Did they not stop for corners?
They slowed down, certainly, but they didn't brake. There is a distinct difference in racing physics. This driver is lifting off the throttle hundreds of meters early and letting aerodynamic drag and engine braking slow the car. They are coasting. In terms of telemetry, the brake pressure trace is flat. It's the Sunday drive technique.
So, physics-wise, why is that a problem? If they make the corner, who cares?
The car cares, Chip, and the stopwatch cares deeply. We must discuss rule number 2, weight transfer. When you hit the brake pedal, and I mean really hit it, you shift the weight of the vehicle to the front nose. This compresses the front suspension, expanding the contact patch of the front tires. That gives you grip to turn the car. By coasting, this driver is turning in with a neutral, unweighted nose. The result? Understeer, vagueness, a floating sensation.
And that ties into this other massive red flag in the report, control score of 1 out of 20, specifically pointing to 19.1% coasting. That's nearly a fifth of the lap spent doing nothing.
Precisely. We call that dead time. In a race car, you are either on the throttle or on the brakes. Transition time should be instantaneous. Spending 19% of a lap rolling is catastrophic for lap times. It also creates instability. A coasting car is not a planted car. You want the chassis loaded, either front or rear, at all times.
Let's look at the consistency score. 0 out of 20? A standard deviation of 4.25 seconds? That's massive.
A 4-second variance means the driver is guessing. They have no braking markers. They aren't looking for the 3 board or a crack in the pavement. They are driving by feel. And because their feel is fear-based, they lift earlier one lap, later the next. You cannot build speed on a foundation of sand, Chip.
Is there any good news here? I see a cornering score of 8 out of 20 with a peak G of 1.76.
That is the tragedy of this report. 1.76 G is a serious number. It tells me the car has massive mechanical grip, likely slicks or very good R compounds. The car is capable of doing a 120, but the driver is doing 128s. It proves the equipment works. The driver just doesn't trust the stopping power to access that grip properly.
Let's talk Thunderhill East specifics. The report highlights turn 9, the crest. Why is the coasting habit dangerous there?
Turn 9 is an elevation trap. The road drops away blindly. If you are a coaster, you tend to lift off the throttle right when you get scared, which is usually at the top of the hill. Physics rule number 2 again. Lifting shifts weight forward, unweighting the rear. Do that while the road drops away and the rear tires have 0 load. The car will spin. You must brake before the hill and be back on maintenance throttle as you crest to keep the rear planted.
And what about turn 2, the carousel? That's a long, sweeping left-hander. Patience is key there, right?
Patience, yes. Coasting, no. With nearly 20% coasting, I guarantee this driver is entering the carousel and just sitting there, waiting for the exit. Without throttle, the car slows down mid-corner, weight transfers forward, and the rear gets loose. They need 10 to 15% throttle, what we call maintenance throttle, to keep the chassis balanced on the friction circle.
Moving to the end of the lap, turns 14 and 15 leading onto the front straight, the report mentions slow in, fast out. How does the coasting hurt them here?
Because they aren't braking, they are entering turn 14 too fast, what we call overshooting the entry, strictly because they didn't scrub speed efficiently. Then they spend the mid-corner waiting for the car to settle. They get on the gas late. That mistake compounds down the entire front straightaway. They are losing 10 miles per hour at the end of the straight because they were gentle in turn 14.
All right, Stig, the driver is listening. They've got a score of 19. They're demoralized. What is the one thing they need to do next session? Give them the directive.
Stop being polite. The brake pedal is not a suggestion, it is a weapon. I want to see that coasting metric drop below 5%. Drive toward the corner, keep your foot flat on the gas, and then stomp the brake pedal like you are trying to brake it. Load the front tires. Trust the friction circle. If you aren't accelerating, you must be braking. No more rolling.
There you have it. Eliminate the dead time, attack the brake, and trust the physics. Thanks, Stig. We'll see you all on the next Data Dive.